Imagine this. Apple drops iOS 26 and instantly millions of iPhones and iPads across the globe are running the brand new update. Meanwhile, Samsung tries to pull a fast one, launching its own One UI 8 update on the very same day. But here's the twist. While Apple's update goes everywhere all at once, Samsung's rollout barely even gets off the ground. That's the real story here. On September 15th, Samsung clearly wanted to steal some of Apple's spotlight. But instead of showing strength, the move just highlighted the gap between the two companies when it comes to software updates. Apple has turned same-day worldwide updates into a tradition, almost an expectation. Samsung, despite all its progress in recent years, still hasn't caught up. Let's break it down. The One UI 8 update officially started rolling out to Galaxy devices, but only if you own a Galaxy S25 and only if you live in Korea. Everyone else, you'll be waiting until October or later. That's a huge contrast with Apple's approach. If you've got an eligible iPhone or iPad, it doesn't matter if you're in New York, Seoul, or Nairobi, you get iOS 26 on the same day. That kind of consistency and speed builds trust, and it makes Apple look like the more reliable software provider, even if you're not necessarily a fan of their devices. And what makes this sting even more for Samsung is that the content of the update doesn't really help their case either. One UI 8 is one of the smallest major upgrades Samsung has pushed out in years. There aren't sweeping design changes, and there aren't many headlining features that are going to get people buzzing. Compare that to iOS 26, which debuts Apple's new liquid glass design language. Now, whether you like that redesign or not, it's a bold move that makes news. Samsung's update, on the other hand, feels more like a maintenance patch disguised as a major release. This is where Samsung's strategy feels a bit shaky. The company has been working hard to improve its reputation on software updates. A few years ago, it was notorious for being slow, but lately it has promised faster rollouts and longer support. And to be fair, things have gotten better. But this latest rollout shows the cracks. By limiting One UI 8 to such a small group of users at launch, Samsung risked reminding fans of its old habits, the kind that left them waiting months while others enjoyed the newest software. Now let's talk about why this matters. Software updates aren't just about flashy features, they're about security, stability, and the overall user experience. When one company can reliably get updates to every eligible device instantly and the other can't, it creates a perception of imbalance. For Apple, it reinforces the idea that they control their ecosystem tightly and efficiently. For Samsung, it leaves a question mark. If the biggest Android manufacturer still struggles to launch updates broadly and on time, what does that say about the Android ecosystem as a whole? From a consumer's perspective, this contrast could be a deciding factor. Maybe you love Samsung's hardware, its cameras, or its foldable phones. But if you're tired of waiting for updates while your iPhone-using friends get theirs immediately, that's frustrating. It could even be enough to sway someone considering a switch. That said, Samsung does deserve credit where it's due. The company has extended software support timelines, often beating other Android makers by promising 4 or even 5 years of updates. That's a big deal, but speed and consistency still matter. If you're going to position yourself against Apple, matching their pace is just as important as matching their duration. Here's the bigger picture. Samsung's attempt to upstage Apple with timing alone ended up backfiring. Instead of making headlines for being bold, it looked like an afterthought next to Apple's global rollout and flashy design overhaul. It was a reminder that software isn't just about what's inside the update, but also about how it's delivered. And in that department, Apple is still leagues ahead. Looking forward, Samsung has an opportunity here. The company doesn't need to copy Apple every move, but if it really wants to compete, its update strategy has to feel as seamless and confident as its hardware launches. No one wants to feel like they're in a second-class lane just because of where they live or which Galaxy model they bought. In the end, One UI 8 shows us both sides of Samsung's story. On one hand, they're improving, slowly but surely. On the other, they still haven't figured out how to make updates a truly global, day-one experience. And until they do, every time they try to steal Apple's spotlight, they risk shining it on their own shortcomings instead.